Well, it's been a couple weeks since I posted the first video on my channel where I gave a tour. It was titled Building a Tiny House, Welcome to My Future Home, if you'd like to go see that. That is about a 20-minute tour as of that date, how much progress I had done, and I do go into some details on some different things in that video, so be sure to watch that after this one if you haven't seen it already. The topic in this video is going to be, why did I even decide to build a tiny house to start with? I'm already editing a video starting with the trailer and the initial construction process, but then I was like, I'm leaving out a major part of the whole thing, and that's making the decision to do it in general. So I'm going to tell you why I did it, and which a lot of the reasons are kind of vague. There is no big thing like low impact on the environment. I mean, that's a great reason if somebody wants to do that, but I mean, things like that, that's not my exact reason. I'll tell you now, the biggest reason I did it is because I thought it was a cool idea. I do all kinds of different artwork. That's sort of my scholastic background. When I went to school was woodworking and sculptural type things, just painting, all different types of art forms. So this is sort of like just a really big version of that. I was doing a lot of sculptures in an art residency I did after I graduated from school. They were sort of furniture / sculpture projects that had architectural references in just the aesthetics of them, just the little visual references. Some of them were basically just straight up miniature houses, and so this is sort of just a big version of that. A lot of the little sculptures I was making had sort of modes of travel attached to them, whether it be airplane wings or other just things, references towards transportation. So this is sort of just a big version of that, and I was kind of interested in sort of some of the gypsy wagons and different types of portable living spaces. And then while on the internet looking for those types of things, I happened across this stuff. I don't know how many years ago it was. It was kind of a while ago, I guess close to when all of the interest in this stuff started kind of building initially, and I just sort of happened upon it, and I was like, that's a good idea, and I felt like it was an option that I could do through being creative and being extremely thrifty and having access to a lot of reclaimed materials that I could do extremely cheap. That is one thing that surprises me. A lot of people are building tiny houses and talking about their low impact and cost effectiveness, and then paying between $20,000 and $40,000 to build basically a travel trailer and plan on living in someone's backyard. And I think about, well, how long are you really going to live in someone else's backyard? What's your long-term plan? What are you going to do with it one day down the road where it might not be as good of a fit for you and your potentially future family, and so on? So I feel like you have a great opportunity when building these houses to be creative in so many ways, not only in its form, but in the way you get the materials to build it. So with that said, I'll just go into it, and I'm going to touch probably on that last point again. Reasons that I did this: cost and options. Cost just meaning I felt like I could do this very cheap, and so far I have. Take a look at that tour video, and as of that video, I think I've probably spent $1,500 to $2,000 max so far. Some of the costs, and I'll probably talk about this more in other videos, but I only paid $100 for the trailer, and then the additional steel that I reinforced it with, I just got it all for free, finding it or either having it already. I already have all the tools to do this type of work. So for me, it's cheap that way. For a lot of people, you might not have the ability or the tools to do the welding that I did on the trailer. You might not have the plentiful junkyards in my area that you can just go, and I found a travel trailer at the junkyard, paid $100 for it, and just towed it home and got to work on this thing. Habitat for Humanity, or Habitat Restore, whatever they call that store, I've gotten a lot of good deals on like wood and stuff from those places, and then buying wood from people off Craigslist. So that makes it very cost effective for me. There are going to be some very expensive details on the house too, but it will all sort of balance out and I think be a very affordable thing. My goal is to spend between $5,000 and $8,000 max on the whole project. I don't know how feasible it is so far, but in sort of looking into the future and looking at the past of other projects of mine, I think that I'll probably hit right on that. Options. When I said options, what I'm talking about for me, not everyone else, is it creates a lot of options for me. My goal in life is to acquire land. I don't really care so much about the house in particular. I think a house, having a neat looking house down the road is cool, but to buy land, land is expensive, and when it has a structure on that land and other various structures, it can get really expensive. So my goal is to buy land, build some sort of a workshop, and then I would have then septic and water set up on that land, put the tiny house on that land, and then build a log cabin and live in this while all that's going on. And then that gives me more options down the road to have this as sort of a guest house to accompany the cabin that I would build, and that would be some sort of a hand-built timber frame cabin. So this could be a guest house, or either this could be moved to another piece of land, perhaps like at some lake in the mountains, on a river, that kind of thing. Some smaller little sort of camping getaway type thing, potentially. Or you could, of course, sell it if you wanted to. So that is sort of my more thought out reasons for doing it. But in general, it's just a cool project. Like I said before, it's just a big version of other smaller things that I've made in the past. So it is just simply fun. So that's my reasons, and I could end the video there, but I'd like to add a couple more things, and I'll call these my considerations for those of you out there to decide, is this even the right project for you? I think a lot of people that do this or get started in this, they maybe did not thought about certain things. So here's the things I would think about. Where are you actually going to build it? Do you have somebody that's going to let you build something in their driveway or backyard or wherever for sort of an indeterminate amount of time, where you might be working on it for months, a year, or years? What kind of skills do you have? Is it going to be a huge hurdle just to build it? Other options, you know, this is not always, I wouldn't consider this the most cost-effective option for a couple reasons. A lot of people just spend a fair amount of money doing this because they don't have a lot of options to get materials for inexpensive prices. And what was I saying? I got off track. But basically, if you're spending $20,000 or $30,000, $40,000 to build one of these houses, and I think there's plenty of people that have done that, you have a lot of other options. You could, especially if you're just thinking about it being temporary, you could buy, and of course these are not as cool of options in some cases, but I'm just saying the options. You could buy a trailer in a trailer park for probably $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, live in it temporarily, fix it up, resell it down the road, and other than the initial cost of buying the trailer, you would just be having the lot rent. And some lot rents are very affordable, and especially when you factor in what they include. Other options, plenty of places, tons of places in this country have houses that you can purchase for $1,000, $2,000, up to $10,000. You know, those really low-cost houses that you could end up spending less, have less money invested in those than you have in building the tiny house, and then you could sell that and then move into a house more like what you want. Now, this, of course, doesn't apply to people who are strictly doing this out of other ideas, perhaps the green aspects, the environmental aspects, but I think a lot of people are considering it because of financial situations, and the buying a house and fixing it up and selling it down the road, living it while you're fixing it up, that solves where you're going to live problem, and that will get you well on your way to a financial situation that you would potentially like to get yourself into by selling the house down the road for much more than you purchased it for. So that is just an option. Some people, I think, that live in more expensive areas, that's just not going to work out that smooth, but the country is loaded with areas that have tons and tons of houses for sale in low-income neighborhoods that you could fix up, sell, or rent. So that is something to consider too. Another thing to think about, where are you going to put it in the end? Do you want to live in your friends' or grandparents' or parents' backyard forever? Most people probably don't want to, so unless you're going to put it in a situation like that, you might have to put it on some land that you purchase, and then you need to think about septic tanks, potentially, depending on how you have your plumbing. Where's your water going to come from? Where's your electric going to come from? And then different code things, depending on where you live. How strict are places? How out in the open, or are you going to put your little house where someone's going to see it right from the side of the road and get mad about it for whatever reason? So all those are things to think about. Like I said, my plan is to put this beside a shop that I plan on building to do woodworking in, because that's where my main source of income comes from. And then while living in this and working in the shop, build a log cabin and use that shop to facilitate building that cabin. So that is my dream, and you just need to kind of think about what is your long-term idea. Availability of materials. If you live in an area where your only option really is buying either super expensive reclaimed materials, because in some areas the cost of those really gets driven up by demand and availability. Other than that, it's just buying everything at retail. That can get very expensive, and if you're going at this for financial reasons, you're not going to come out on top or really much any better. The only thing you have control of in that is the pace at which you build, which is sort of almost like financing it. You can build it at a pace that you can afford, but in that situation you're going to need to be staying somewhere else, and if you're renting a house, the cost of renting / building the house could maybe exceed it. So most likely most people that are going to build these are going to be building them, I think, in their perhaps family's land or friends' land, where you might be able to sort of semi-stay at their place, and they'll kind of help you out. But your long-term plan, how long do you want to live in it? That's a major thing, and that kind of really strongly ties into where you're going to put it. The person that you put it in their backyard, they could sell their house, they might not want you there for that long, etc. And also, right now, you might be someone my age, younger, older, that is a single person, or with a wife or a husband, and it's a very small family or just one person. But down the road, if you end up with a family, how feasible is it to live in that small house? So that is, none of this is to scare anyone away from doing it, but it's all things to consider, more so how to solve the problems, not to avoid doing the project as a whole. But, I mean, in general, I would say that a lot of these small houses are very expensive for what you're getting, but the sort of novelty aspects of what you're doing, you just need to sort of weigh all that, and what your long-term goals are especially. I think just simply doing it spur of the moment just because it seems neat and you see a lot of other people doing it, doing cool stuff with it, I wouldn't let that be your reason for just jumping right on it. Take your time and thinking about it. From the time I first thought to do this seriously till the time I actually even started at all, other than some sketches, I mean, it was about 1.5 or 2 years that I kind of considered it, and I'm really glad that I waited, because in that amount of time that I was thinking, I had a couple good opportunities happen that have made this easier to do. I guess that pretty much wraps it up. That was a lot longer of a video than I thought it was. Let's see, I've been talking for over 13 minutes now, but I think that that has some stuff in it that I would have liked to have heard early on and just thought about, and hopefully it is of value to some of you out there. So thank you for watching this video. The next video that I should be posting should be sort of the start of the construction, starting with the original camper. I'm sitting on the front of the trailer right now on the tongue, and I'm not sure how far that video will go into the construction, but the next one will be starting construction, and I think the videos will only get better from there, because when I first started filming and taking some photos of things early on, I really wasn't planning on doing anything with YouTube with it. I was just sort of doing it to document my experience, but guess I've said enough. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and if you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and do so. The name of my channel is Square Inch. You can also see my other channel called The Homestead Craftsman. You can see that link in my About page or on the featured channels. And I have videos on how to do all kinds of stuff, mainly woodworking, but other things too. So, once again, thanks for watching. See you in the next video. To become a subscriber to the Square Inch YouTube channel, click the red button now.